There are so many good reasons to keep fish. I've been in and out of the hobby for almost my entire life so far, and I can tell you I do enjoy life more when I have at least one aquarium up and running. Now, of course, my entire house is full of them.
So yeah, they say that watching your aquariums can actually help reduce anxiety and lower your blood pressure. I mean, take me for example. I should be a dead man based on my diet for the past 40 years, but I'm still alive and kicking. And sure, a lot of that could be genetics, but they say that watching your aquariums really does help.
Full transparency here, most of the sites that tell you it's good for your health are fish sites like Aquarium, but it makes sense. Watching these fish glide around like they're floating in air is bound to have a good calming effect on you. Okay, maybe my tanks are a bad example because they're generally full of insane cichlids bent towards evil doing, but I still find them calming anyway. Probably because I'm a little crazy myself. You don't have to have nutjob cichlids though. You can start up a tank full of less aggressive fish and have peace all the way around. Must be nice. You can just sit around and watch them and feel the stress melt away. Take your mind off things. Even doing maintenance like me cleaning the glass with my new scraper, that can be relaxing and soothing. And it feels good to know I'm taking care of all my fish, which is good for your mental health too. Of course, if you suffer from MTS or multi-tank syndrome and get in over your head, keeping too many tanks and creating too much work for you, then the opposite could happen and you could feel more stress and more anxiety. So it's important to keep a good balance and not go overboard with the hobby. I'm a bad example because I've gone way overboard with the hobby and it completely rules my life now, so don't follow my example. Check out how big Percy's getting, by the way. I mean, I say this all the time, but he is getting insanely big. When I got him, he was one of the smallest fish in the tank, and now he's looking to pass up Kevin, my electric blue Texas. He'll soon be the biggest fish in San Quentin at this rate. Just looking at the pattern on Percy gives me a calming effect, even though I have to stand up while watching since the tank is in the walkway and it's on a 45-inch high stand. You might have noticed that I have this strange big net just hanging around in the tank. That's because I'm working on catching the smallest of my 2 Jack Dempseys to put him in my 55-gallon grow out, and putting Buck, my big true parrot, in here, doing a swap-a-roo. I found that leaving a net in the tank for a while can make it a lot easier to catch your fish since they kind of get used to the net. Sometimes I even put food in the net, and that can lure them in. It works great on smaller tanks, but we'll see how it works on this one. I plan on making the move next week or sometime around there because I have some new decor coming, might as well do it all at once.
There we go, that should do it. My tanks don't get a lot of algae on the glass, but they do get a white biofilm that obscures the view of the fish. You can't really tell if you're just looking at it directly, but once it's gone, you can. So I just give it a quick wipe down every once in a while, and that helps keep those fish look like they're floating in air. And watching your fish in a nice clean tank, it's gotta be good for your health, right? This is Alcatraz, my 240-gallon African cichlid tank, and it's right in my living room, so I can look at them while I'm watching TV or even if I'm just walking around the house. And they're always hungry, so I feed them twice a day, once at night and once in the morning. This is going to be their breakfast. But having a beautiful aquarium in your home is another way that having fish can add value to your life.
I've seen some ugly tanks that aren't kept up well by their owners, but if you're on it, your tank can really look nice and actually improve the look of the space it's in. It's your hobby, but it can also give the look of your place some impact, make a statement. Like having a cool painting on the wall, except it's alive and much more interesting. And the cool thing is, you can always switch up the decor in your tank and keep it fresh if you like, if you get bored with it. I think having a well-kept tank with a beautiful scape or at least some nice decor in it can really make a difference in the appearance of your home, good or bad, depending on how well you keep up on your tank and how much energy you put into it. Plus, some guests will be really interested in it, and then you get to share your passion with them and answer all their questions about your beautiful aquarium. If you have African cichlids and not normal fish, then some of those questions will sound like, are those saltwater fish? Or, how come all your fish are starving? Don't you feed them?
They're actors, and they'll try to convince everybody that walks by that they've never been fed before, even though you just fed them 10 minutes ago.
You will subscribe. Ding ding.
A lot of us do most of our learning early on in our lives, like in elementary school, high school, and college, and then it just kind of tapers off after that. And if you're not careful, it can taper off completely and you just stop learning. And I'll bet you there are some people out there that that it seems like they never learned anything at all. Like, take this Costco member who was trying to pay for everything in their basket by holding up their card to the register light. Like the magical register light was going to take their payment instead of the payment machine. But if you're into fish keeping, there's a wealth of knowledge out there for you to research and learn about to keep your mind nice and sharp.
Take this tank for example. I had to research how to clean and prepare this branch I found down by the river, as well as all the rocks you see in here. But not only that, I learn about each of the fish I add to the tank. I find out about their maximum sizes, tank parameters, aggression levels, possible tank mates. I thoroughly research every fish I get before I consider buying them. Take the red-tailed shark for example. I already knew about them, but I didn't know that they're useful for cleaning off rotting parts of my sunken branch. That's something I learned recently from one of you actually. But there's so much more you can learn about, like how pH affects other areas of your tank, the nitrogen cycle, how to prevent algae from growing. Yeah, I still pronounce it algae, like those Australians, to get more viewers.
And even though you probably take really good care of your fish, they can eventually get sick, and then you have to learn about diseases and how to treat them, and which medications to keep on hand. So yeah, keeping fish can really inspire you to keep your mind learning all the time. And if you're actively researching things to learn about your fish, you'll never run out of things to look up. This next benefit of fish keeping is one that I think is widely overlooked by almost everybody in the fish keeping hobby, and it doesn't apply to people who really aren't into their tanks. You know, they have a tank and they clean it once every 3 months, if they can remember, and then they feed them every other day, and sometimes they forget a day because who really cares? This is for people like you who are fanatics about their fish, and it applies to any type of fish tank you might have. It doesn't have to be a certain kind of fish or have a certain look to it, and it can apply to even people that have decor in it like a SpongeBob pineapple. That's right, I'm looking at you, Polly.
Keeping a nice looking tank with healthy fish isn't easy. You have to work at it. You know this because you're up on your aquarium maintenance, proper feeding, and making your tank look good for your fish and for you. It takes thought and effort, and when you see the results of your work, you feel proud. These are my beautiful fish, and the reason they look like they're floating in air in this beautiful aquarium is because I care about them. And I know some things too. I'm a good fish keeper who's always learning. That kind of thing really helps build up your confidence. And I'm talking about confidence that you have revolving around your fish, but I think it's also something that you carry with you into other aspects of your life. By the way, check out Astro, my Mangano Mbuna. I was warned he could be a nightmare of a fish, but so far he's really docile, even though he's like twice as big as everyone else in the tank. Anyway, confidence is confidence, and the more aspects of your life that you have it, I think the more confident you'll feel overall.
It wasn't until about 3 years ago that I started keeping African cichlids, and just recently American cichlids. And before that, I pretty much owned just a single tank, off and on throughout my whole life. And the biggest I ever had was a 75. But I never really felt any additional confidence from owning a tank like that. I didn't really take a lot of pride in the tank, except that the water was clear and the fish were pretty healthy. I didn't have a lot of cool escaping in them or have a real challenge with the tank. And it wasn't until I got these guys that I started feeling that challenge and having to learn a lot about fish just to keep them from killing each other, because they're nut jobs and that's all they want to do is kill each other. So having these fish caused me to keep on learning, actively learning about fish, which is good for you. But it also gave me some confidence in being able to handle aggressive fish, keep them in a somewhat peaceful state most of the time, and then when violence breaks out, I know what to do. And that confidence is great in the fish keeping world, but I think it also expands into other areas of your life, which is absolutely wonderful. Something I learned about myself a long time ago is that I need to be creative in order to have a fulfilled life. And I've spent my early years making music in a home studio, which was never really good, by the way. And then I'm also a photographer. I've been a photographer for the past 13 years or so, actually 15 years. And that allows me to create beautiful images of people, that gives me that creativity that I need, that creative outlet. But just as important is my desire to create beautiful fish tanks and make these videos. If you like being creative and you think being creative might help improve your quality of life, then keeping fish is a great option. Take San Quentin, for example. I'm stocking this tank with an end vision in mind. I want the fish to thrive in here, but I also want to get beautiful fish that will complement each other. I want fish at the top, middle, and bottom because I think it'll increase the beauty of the tank. Choosing your fish with an end goal in mind is a huge creative outlet, and it's so fun to find new fish to add to the tank that'll give it that creative flair you're looking for. Take this tank for example. It's my 20-gallon grow-out quarantine tank, and right now it has 10 of the fish that I've wanted more than any other American cichlids since I started getting into them. They're the Geophagus altifrons, and I wanted to put them in my 180, but at the time I thought they would get to be about 6 inches max, but when I did my research and they get to be about 8 to 10 inches. I want to have 7 to 10 of them in the tank, and that's just too many big fish in the 180 for my taste, so I had to wait. And I didn't think I'd ever be able to get them because I didn't think I'd ever have San Quentin, but I do, and eventually they'll be big enough to put in there, and they're going to complete my vision finally for what I want my tank to look like. Geophagus altifrons are really hard to find. I can hardly ever find them anywhere, so I was really lucky to find them, but the thing is they were only an inch long, which means that if I put them in San Quentin, they're just gonna get eaten right away. And the bummer about Geophagus is that they're all super slow growers. My red-headed Tapajos took forever to get any size and color on them at all. So these should be in here for at least 6 months, but I think that's probably more like 6 months to a year before I can finally put them over in San Quentin.
You can also express your creativity with your tank setup and decor. I've had so much fun making this tank look like I'd envisioned it to look, and I'm still working on it. Yeah, I have some new standing roots to go over in this corner with this lonely standing root. It's coming from Aqua Decor. Should be here in about a week or so I'm again trying to get Buck over here and get that Jack Dempsey out. Really excited about that. If you like the feeling of being creative, your aquarium is a great place to start. And being creative can also give you confidence, like I was talking about earlier, like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Oh no, don't let that idiom bother you. It's okay to throw stones at birds because birds kill fish.
So what about you? Do you identify with any of these benefits of fish keeping, or maybe you have a whole entire new set of your own that I didn't even mention? Let us know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you'd like to get updates on all my tanks, and until next time, that's a wrap.